So, there was about 3 carts in a parking space across from where I parked in the Walmart parking lot, and I was loading my groceries in the trunk. Lady goes to pull into the space with 3 carts and stops, honks. Waits. Honks again, then gets out and shouts at me, "Why won't you just do your effing job? Get these carts out of the way," as she's moving them violently. I tell her I don't work here. She replied, "Couldn't tell, how the hell should I know that? You should have done it anyway." I reply, "You should pucker up on my puckered parts, 'cause I don't work here and I didn't put the carts there. Find another spot instead of cussing out a stranger." She replied, "I'm going to talk to management." I reply, "Be my guest." Have never laughed harder than when I drive past the entrance to see the woman standing there with someone who appeared to be a manager, pointing angrily at me. This is an old story from about 20 or so years ago. I stopped at Costco on the way home from work. I just came in looking for some electronics or whatnot and so wasn't pushing a cart, and while in the electronics section, this older woman sees me looking over some item and I can see she's interested in an item shelved near the one I'm looking at. I don't even remember what the items were. Anyway, she turns and asks me some very specific question about the item she's looking at. I looked up at her, and simply answered, "Sorry, I have no idea." A few minutes later at the other end of the same aisle, this same lady comes up to me with some other item in her hands and asks me, "Do you know blah 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 about this?" Again, it was an item that I had no idea about, and at this point I'm mildly annoyed, and just answered, "Nope," and turned to go browse the next aisle over. It's worthwhile, I think, at this point in the story to explain that I was working in northern NJ, basically a suburb of NYC, in a fairly stressful job, and one of the reasons I had even stopped at Costco was that my 12-mile ride home was mired in terrible traffic. Rather than spend the next 30 minutes trying to go the last 6 miles home, I pulled into the Costco I was about to crawl past, figuring I'd do a little shopping and let some of the traffic clear out while I did so. So I started this whole experience wound a little tightly. On top of that, this was when I was in my early 30s or late 20s, and I was a pretty big D-bag back then. I have mellowed since, and partly due to this experience. Anyway, moving on. 5 minutes later I'm nerding out over whatever thing I was looking at in the next aisle and the woman comes around the corner from the other aisle where I'd left her, specifically walking past other customers to come to me to ask a third question about something that I had no idea about. By now, I'm pretty annoyed. It is clear to me that she is not flirting with me or anything like that, and I cannot understand why she keeps coming to bug me about these things when all I want to do is just waste a few minutes out of traffic. In all honesty, if I'd had any answers for her, I would likely have given them to her, but I didn't have those answers. In reply to her question, I gave her a sh_d look and in a very condescending voice said, "I have no idea, but maybe you ought to ask someone who works here," and made an overly dramatic gesture with my hands pointing towards one of the employees rounding the corner at the edge of the electronics section about 20 feet away. The woman looked at me, somewhat offended, and didn't say another word. I didn't give a damn. Why couldn't this woman leave me to my nerding out? I left the electronics section and wandered off, and after another 20 or so minutes of walking around and just avoiding traffic, picked up some grocery item or other and walked to the cashier line to pay for it. As my turn came up to pay, I pulled out my wallet looking for my membership card, and could not find it. I knew I had to show it to get into the store, and quickly checked all my pants pockets. No card. The cashier smiles at me and points to my chest. I looked where she was pointing, and in a split second, I realized, maybe not for the first time ever, that I was a giant a-hole. So my employer had access control on all buildings, and you scanned your employee ID card at the door of any of these buildings to enter. Employees were also obliged to display their IDs at all times while on work property. Many people wore the badge attached to one of those retractable cords that you clip to your belt. Some wore their badge on a loop of ribbon around their neck, and others, like myself, wore their badge in a transparent pouch that was designed to go clip onto a shirt or jacket pocket. My employer also required business attire, so on my way home from work, I was dressed in leather-soled shoes, pleated dress pants, a white button-down shirt, and a tie, left the jacket in the car for the trip into Costco. Apparently, I also left my work ID badge holder still clipped to my shirt pocket. At that point in time, It would not have been unusual for me to go in and out of buildings at work a dozen or more times on any given day. After a year or so, it had become a well-practiced and unthinking motion for me to grab my work ID from the badge holder that held it on my shirt pocket, flash it to the door sensor, and just slip it back into the pocket on the holder as I entered a building. Apparently, when I pulled my Costco ID out of my wallet to get into the store, I unthinkingly placed it in the badge holder, since I'd forgotten to take that off and leave it in my car with my jacket, instead of back into my wallet. I had been walking around the store looking like a manager, with a badge displaying the Costco logo prominently in bright red letters, right on my chest. As all of this realization came to me in the second or two after the cashier pointed out my Costco ID card I was wearing, my face went a little pale and she asked me if I was okay. I mumbled something about feeling dumb and this being a habit from work as I paid for my stuff. I hurried out of the store, hoping I didn't see the woman who had been asking me questions. It began to dawn on me that if I weren't such a d-bag coward, I'd go and find that woman, explain to her what happened, and apologize to her for being so rude. Instead, I just left the store in shame, feeling about 2 inches tall. Long-time lurker. First-time poster. On mobile, so sorry about any formatting issues. So I'm a musician. I was playing a gig at a bar. It's a casual bar in a city, so I was dressed to look good, but I wasn't wearing tie or anything. It's casual. A friend of mine showed up and during the set break we both went outside to smoke and were standing to the side of the entrance. We're hanging out, chatting, and then this group shows up and I make eye contact with the woman leading them. She's walking toward me and pulls her wallet out, then hands me her ID. My friend and I glance at each other and back to her. "I don't know about this, miss, this looks like a fake to me." She's completely dismayed. "No. I swear it's real, it's just a really old picture and I wasn't having a good day that day." Takes the heaviest sigh. "I swear it's real." My friend and I glance back at each other. We give each other a nod in agreement. So I turn back to her while all her friends are uncertain if their night's plans are about to change. "I'm just here to play drums, but thanks for sharing this with me." Reads her name on ID, Jane Smith. Then I proceed to give her the ID. She asked, "So I can go in?" "Yeah, sure, why would I care?" "Are you not the doorman?" "Nah, I'm just here to play those drums over there." Points inside. "I'm playing a gig here tonight, I'm just on a break." Her friends lost it. She realized what just happened, started apologizing, and I told her it was totally fine and that I got a good laugh out of it. They all hung out for the music and tipped the band graciously. After the gig we had another good laugh and went our separate ways. I have been browsing this sub for a while now, and I can't believe I have never thought to tell you guys the story of how, on my 18th birthday, I was mistaken for an employee at a strip club. It sounds fake, but I promise that it's not. Disclosure, this happened a decade ago. I was the last one to turn 18 in my friend's group, so on my 18th birthday we decided to go out and do all the things you can legally do at 18 in the US, buy cigarettes and lottery tickets and go to a strip club. Before going out, I was on the phone with a friend and I asked her what to wear. She said, "Dress for a night to remember," and my 18-year-old brain interpreted that as wear a teeny tiny dress. Folks, this thing was skin tight and short, with vertical black and white stripes, like an umpire or a prisoner in an old-timey cartoon. So I met up with my friends and they were all dressed much more casually than me. Miss Dress for a Night to Remember was in jeans and a t-shirt, if I recall. But whatever, it was my birthday and I was dressed up, it was fine. We went to the strip club and were milling around on the floor not knowing what to do. We lived in a fairly small college town, so the club was small and tacky. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned around to a middle-aged woman in all black. I assumed she was a manager. She asked, "Why aren't you in the dressing room?" Then must have immediately noticed her mistake, because she said, "Oh, I thought you were a dancer." I'm not sure if I looked like one of the women who worked there, or if she wasn't familiar with all of her staff. But either way, that was a lovely introduction to legal adulthood, and I don't think I ever wore the dress again. So, to set some context, I relocated during the pandemic, so the places I usually went for things are no longer an option. I try to avoid big box retail for a variety of reasons. First, they don't train their people, so the guy who comes here for a living doesn't know where anything is. Second, they can't keep their people, so I don't know anybody, and nobody knows me. This makes the service suck. These problems have only been made worse by the aforementioned pandemic. As smaller places, your shopping experience is better, and the money stays local. All that said, on to my story. I like to pick up heavy things and put them down again. This occasionally needs supplies. I occasionally do things outside, like farmer's carry, or stone carry, things like that. This means I have to drag a bunch of weight plates up the stairs from my basement, through the house, out to wherever I'm going to do what I'm doing, and then put them back again. The wife lost her patience with this, and told my cheap self to go buy a set of plates to keep in the garage for this purpose. I haven't been able to find any place near me that supplies them locally, so I'm forced to go to big box sporting goods, or online river retail. Since it's a nice day, and I don't want to wait for online river retail, off I go to big box sporting goods. I decide on a set of grip plates, pick them up, and head to the register. I ask the young lady if I can leave them there while I go get another pair. The cashier, who probably weighs about as much as the 2 plates I was carrying, asks me to put them on the unused counter to one side of her, so she can keep ringing up other customers, and come back to her when I was ready. I get back to the heavy things section, grab 2 more plates, and head back for the register. I get there, and realize that I should probably restock on tape, chalk, and other things for the outside section so I don't have to run back and forth. Because if I get gym chalk all over the living room carrying it outside, I will certainly encounter la chakla less than ominous music greater than. I beg the cashier's indulgence for just a little longer, leaving 4 plates on an empty register, and head back. As I pass the golf shirts, a wild Karen appears. She steps out from between 2 racks directly in front of me, raises both of her hands to snap in my face, and goes directly to the screaming. Now, as you've probably guessed, I'm a good size guy. I'm not so huge that you wonder if I can wipe my own bottom, but I'm definitely burly. I managed to stop without bowling this woman over, which may have been the most remarkable part of this interaction. Excuse me. Less than snapping her fingers furiously, greater than. Me, holy dollar H superscript 1T. What the hell? I need help. Less than stomping her foot, greater than now. Me, I don't work here. Customer service is over there. Less than, as I point to the front area, greater than. Don't give me the horse, less than naughty, greater than, comma, I saw you grabbing things for that girl at the counter. I need to know which of these tennis rackets is the best, and you're going to help me. Me, I don't work here, and all I know about tennis comes from an Anna Kournikova calendar I bought. Customer service is over there. Less than, pointing again, greater than. I've already told you to stop lying to me once, and if you do it again, I'm going to get you fired. Meet me over by the tennis rackets in 30 seconds if you want to keep your job. Me, yo no trabajo aquas. What the hell does that mean? Me, it's I don't work here in Spanish. I figured there must be a language barrier, since I've now told you 4 times, and you just don't seem to get it. I'm getting your manager. Less than, stomping off, greater than. I finish grabbing what I needed from the heavy things section, chalk, tape, a couple of straps that were on sale, and a squat bar pad because mine was getting worn, and head for the register. Of course the one next to where I had left the weights wasn't available, so I had to wait. This gave Karen time to catch up. From my description earlier, you can probably guess that I don't exactly blend in. I'm over 6 feet tall, well north of 300 pounds. And have a bushy reddish-brown beard with gray streaks in it. I'm wearing a black t-shirt, with a picture of a Highland athlete on it that says it's not the length of his caber that makes him great, it's the weight of his stones on the back. There is nothing about me that says big box sporting goods employee. She catches up, dragging the manager, shouting that's him. He maliciously refused to help me. Manager, ma'am, he doesn't work here. Don't give me that. I saw him helping that dumb less than, which greater than, behind the register. Why would he do that if he didn't work here? She had a name tag, I'll call her Alice. Me, I wasn't helping Alice, I was asking her if I could leave these here while I got the rest of my stuff. Then how do you know her name? Me, she's wearing a name tag, and you owe her an apology. K, I don't owe her a less than naughty greater than thing. If she wanted to be respected, she wouldn't work here. She should be apologizing to me for making me put up with this. Less than turning to manager, and screaming at the top of her lungs greater than I want both of them fired right less than naughty greater than now, or I'm calling the police. I'll have every one of you arrested for assault. You can't prove you didn't assault me. Manager, ma'am, you're standing under a camera. I can prove you weren't assaulted, but please feel free to call the police. It will be a lot easier to fill out the trespass forms if you're still here. And you'll have plenty of time to read them when you're in jail for filing a false police report. K, less than naughty greater than you. Less than naughty greater than all of you. I'm never coming back here again. Manager, I'll hold you to that this time. He turns to me and apologizes, gave me a coupon I didn't know about for the weights, and I went on my way. Not as dramatic as some, but still fun.